for the warm introduction, my family for being here, for the support, because it does make a difference and it matters, the type of support that I have, and my husband, who is definitely my rock and supports me tirelessly and listens to me, and to my children. Thank you. And I am a Mimi as well. I have a four-year-old grandson. So thank you again. One of the things that I do, and I may not stand, do I need to stand behind the podium for the camera? Okay, I'll stand right here. One of the things that has been said is that I am a founder of a public charter school here in Richland School District 1. But I want to tell you how I got to this point, because I believe that everyone has a story, and children are full of stories, and it's through their stories that I get to know them, build relationships with them, and I feel that my mission, my calling, the purpose that God has for my life, He has placed me in a place, in a field where I can make an impact through my life and the things that I have. So I remember a couple years ago, well, a lot of years ago, when I was finishing up my undergraduate studies at Morris College in Sumter, South Carolina. I was a political science history major, wanting to become a lawyer, and I was doing an internship at the governor's office under Governor Carroll Campbell. Actually, that's where I met my husband. He was my supervisor. And so we were going out to homeless shelters for battered women and homeless children. And we went to Greenville County, and we were there doing our paperwork, checking for compliance issues. And there was this little boy, as we were getting ready to leave, he said, you know what, people come, but they never come back. They just come here and look at us and check on us and smile at us, and they never come back. And we're just here, and we're alone. That ride back to Columbia touched my heart. And I felt like that I was listening, hearing, and I wanted to follow God's voice. And so that's when I decided I need to do something where I can make a stronger impact in the lives of children. And so I went back to school and got a degree in education. And that degree has afforded me so many opportunities to minister to children. Now, we all know that there's a challenge with church and state, because I'm in a public school setting, and I can't outright say certain things, but I think the things that I can say, the things that I do, is by the life that I live and the way that I interact with my students. My students know me that I love them unconditionally, but that is some tough love. And I have very, very, very high expectations for them. And in doing that, and my teachers and staff, creating Carolina School for Inquiry, we wanted a school where children knew that they mattered, where difference didn't mean deficit. And we wanted a group of children that represented the world, that mirrors the world. And so as we begin our mornings each day at Carolina School for Inquiry, we start with a poem by Shel Silverstein. And it goes something like this: if you are a dreamer, come in. If you are a dreamer, a wisher, a liar, a hoper, a prayer, a magic bean buyer. If you are a pretender, come sit by my fire, because we have some flax golden tales to spin. Come in, come in. Every morning we recite that poem, because it doesn't matter where our children are coming from, and they come from various backgrounds. Our school, we have children all over Richland County, not just in the area where the school is located, being a charter school. We're all over Richland County. And so when they come in, we have children coming in from different backgrounds, different socioeconomic statuses, different ethnic groups, and things like that. So one of the things that I do each morning, I'm outside in the morning, right at 7:25. I open up those car doors. I open the door and I smile at the parents. I tell them good morning. I look at the children. I give them a hug, and I welcome them in to the school every morning. There are some mornings when I open that car door, depending on who it is, it's loud music going on. Somebody's on the phone, or the child is being screamed at. It's just different, and it doesn't always happen that way. But it's that initial contact that we have When they walk, they step out of that car and they walk up that driveway, they'll see a caring adult, one that will give them a smile, one would give them a hug, one would, we call it filling their bucket, so to speak, being a bucket filler and not a bucket dipper. And we talk about how can we use kind words to encourage our students, and so we do that. And so then we get into our morning activities, and then we start the day. We start the day as a family. All of our students are gathered in one area, and we start as a family. We do the things, we recite the mission statement of the school, we recite the Shel Silverstein poem, we recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we turn and talk to each other, and we encourage each other. And that's how we build our day, or start our day. So some of the things that are really important in education and really having Christ in education is building those relationships. I always tell my teachers and staff, you can be the best teacher, you can have all the credentials behind your name, but until you can reach a child, when you get to know a child and build those relationships, that is when you're going to really make a difference in their lives. So how do we build relationships? Well, we build the relationship as soon as I open that car door. We build relationships when the children enter, when they're walking past us in the hallway, when we're sitting down with them at lunch, when we're in the classrooms. We are building relationships continuously. Lewis Moll is a famous researcher who says that every child, every family has something called funds of knowledge. We have those things. And so it is our job, our mission, to find out what those funds of knowledge is for each child and each family. So what does that look like? Well, what are their traditions? What are their values? What are their beliefs? What kind of language do they speak? Are we honoring their language? I can tell you when I'm depending on the setting that I'm in, and this is a more professional setting, and I'm using the standard English, but when I'm with my folks in the country, I may not sound like this. I may kind of code switch is what we call it, because that is who we are. But when we tell children, I always tell my teachers, we definitely want to model the standard correct English and the way that it should be spoken in school. But when you tell a child who's coming into the school community and they say something that's not properly spoken or standard English, it'd be broken English or Ebonics or whatever term, their native home language is what we call it, and you say, ooh, that is terrible. Why are you speaking that way? Well, what you have done, you have dishonored their mom, their dad, their grandma, their uncles, and all their family. So you're saying something is wrong with me. Something is wrong with me. Now, we model what it's supposed to sound like, and we teach children you have to code switch in this setting. So you honor that. And so that is one of the ways we build relationships, by making children feel like they belong and that they are accepted into the school community. Another thing that we do in our school is that we do home and community visits. We have to get beyond the walls of the school to get out and to visit their homes, visit them in their churches, visit them at their soccer games, their football games, whatever path that is, but they will invite us to come in. That is what we do. I went on a home visit a couple weeks ago with one of my teachers. Yes, they said the principal goes on a home visit as well. And the visit was so rich in that we really got to see what the family valued, what was important, and we were able to minister to that family through the things and the needs that they were sharing with us. And so that was really great as well, is building those relationships with our parents. A couple years ago, I went on a home visit with one of my teachers, and it was like a latchkey family, children. There was a whole lot of children in the home, and uncles and grandparents and things like that. And when I got there, they're like, okay, why is the principal coming to the school, and what did he do? I said he didn't do anything. We want to get to know you. We want to build these relationships. We want to build your child, the whole child, not just here at the school, but we want to get to know them. That takes time. And how can we do that? We do that through who I am as a Christian educator. Christ is in me. And my life comes out through my work with my children. It comes out through my work with my children. I always tell my children when it comes, like particularly if they come to my office for a discipline issue, I say, you know what? I have a lot of patience, and I probably have said this. I have the patience of Job. I said, but one thing I don't have patience for is disrespect. I said, respect will carry you places where other things won't. And so that is one of my pet peeves for my students and for my teachers, is that we have a environment that fosters respect for each and every person. So that is another thing. So we build relationships, we foster that sense of respect, we honor families and children for who they are. And another thing is we listen intently. I listen intently to my students. I remember about a year ago, one student came to me. He said, Miss Dixon-Mokeba, I really need to talk to you. I really need to talk to you. I was probably doing car duty, trying to get the day started. And I said, honey, give me a few minutes. I will definitely come back and talk to you. And so when I went back to that student, it was a first grade student, he said, I have to tell you something. I have to tell you something. I said, yes, honey, what is it? He said, my dad is beating me up. He's punching on me. And I was like, what? He says, yes, Miss Dixon-Mokeba, I need you to help me. Well, I'm so glad that that child felt comfortable enough to come to me, that I established that relationship with him, that he would say, I trust you. I need you to come. I need you to help me. And so I was able to take him out of a situation because he spoke to me. And it's, again, building those relationships. And there are other students that, Ms. Dixon-Mokeba, I need to tell you something. I'm having this big event this weekend. Can you come? Yes, I can come. I look at my schedule, and yes, I can come, and I can be there. So it's not always the bad things. There's good, there's bad, there's all those things. There's a whole arena of things that we want to do in building those relationships. And another thing that I said I love hard. I love my students. They know I have nothing but love for them, unconditional love for them, but it's tough love because I want for my students the same things that I want for my own children. And my children sometimes tell me, Mama's tough. And I have high expectations. And it's because I want the very best for them. It's because everything that I do, I ask myself, am I giving glory and honor to God through every interaction, through all the things that I do? It's important that I do that I feel that I sense that, and that comes out through me. I want to be the hands and feet of Jesus through the work that he has purposed me to do as an educator in a public setting. So those are some of the things that are very important to me as an educator, and things that I think as we go out into the world, into the community, things that we can do. One of the other things that I think is really important is that I said that every child has a story. I have stories and books, and I read to my children all the time. And if you look at some of these stories, this one right here is one of my all-time favorites. It says, Mama, where are you from? And it's a story about a little girl asking her mom about her experiences and things that she's experienced in life. And on the last page, it goes through telling all the things that were important to her, some of it historical in nature. But on the very last page, she kind of sums it up. She says, yes, I am that morning washing, bean snapping, wagon watching, tree singing, Miss Mary waving, brown bus riding, clothes sprinkling, croaker eating, red light playing, finger popping, star dreaming girl. That's where I'm from. But she talks about all of the places and all of the experiences in her life that have made her who she is. And she's able to minister in a way to her daughter. Another book that we have, you think about the titles, The Wonderful Happens. How can I use this book to really talk about children, about the wonderful things that they are experiencing in the world? And it talks about the nature, the things that are happening. The world is filled with so many wonderful things. Birds that fly through the sky, and peaches that grow on the trees, spiders spinning webs, and cats napping in windows, fresh baked bread, and new fallen snow. And then there's the most wonderful thing, and that wonderful thing, boys and girls, is you. You are that wonderful thing. And so there's another book that I have. Now, this is probably one of my favorites, and I kind of reference this. It says, Will You Fill My Bucket? And it talks about daily acts of love around the world. Children would ask, will you fill my bucket and make me happy too? Will you fill my bucket with love that comes from you? And it's all over the country, all over the world, sorry. Will you fill my bucket and hold me on your lap? Will you fill my bucket and kiss me at my nap? Will you fill my bucket and push me on the swing? Will you fill my bucket and clap and dance and sing? Will you fill my bucket and snuggle cheek to cheek? Will you fill my bucket and play hide and go seek? Will you fill my bucket and keep me by your side? See this lady carrying that thing on her head like Pastor Redfern said? Will you fill my bucket and take me for a ride? Will you fill my bucket and hug me in your arms? Will you fill my bucket and laugh at all my charms? Will you fill my bucket and show me what to do? Will you fill my bucket and tell me I love you? And one by one, the answer was yes, I will do those things. Yes, I will play hide and seek. Yes, I will fill your bucket for a ride. Yes, I will laugh at your dreams. Yes, I will listen to the words that you say. Yes, because I love you. And one of the things the author says in this book is that children, there's a human need, not only children, there's a human need for love and affection. It knows no boundaries, and it's the same around the world. So children need to know that we love them and they feel that emotionally, socially, and have that connection. So that's another one of the books that I love to read. And this one is another one. I love Mem Fox. She's one of my favorite authors, children's authors. Whoever you are. And so this book looks at diversity. It doesn't matter how you look, or what size you are, how long your hair is, what color your eyes are, but whoever you are unique. Every day, all over the world, children are laughing and crying, playing and learning, eating and sleeping. They may not look the same, they may not speak the same language, but their lives might be quite different. But inside, we all are just alike. We are just alike inside. And this is another one, and it's a historical book, and you can find all kinds of children's books. It says, Prayer for the 21st Century. And it kind of goes through praying for people as they're flying and traveling and thinking about the wars and understanding history. And so it's a beautiful thing, and the author and the illustrator captures a lot of that. This one is one of my favorites. It's called Chicken Sunday. It's by Patricia Polacco. I love Patricia Polacco. And it talks about a grandmother who works with the children in the neighborhood. It says, we call those Sundays Chicken Sundays because Miss Eula almost always fried chicken for dinner. There'll be collard greens with bacon, a big pot of Hoppin' Johns. How many of you know what Hoppin' Johns are? Corn on the cob and fried spoon bread. And on Sunday at the table, we watch her paper that fan flutter back and forth, pulling the moist fried chicken along with it. She took a deep breath, her skin glowed, and she smiled. And then she would just tell stories. So you tell stories about that. And so we can share these kind of things. And I know you guys know this song. He's got the whole world in his hands. This book has some beautiful illustrations, and it's the song. He's got the whole world in his hands. I won't stop my day job, I promise. So it really talks about that. And this one is by it's a colorful world. This is by C.C. Winans. And it talks about how colorful the world is and how diversity, how children may have nose rings and piercings and may look different, may talk differently, but we are all the same, and we have to appreciate each other. So through literature, we're able to do that. And this is the one that I always tell my students, the golden rule. What's the golden rule? You guys know? Yes. So we can say, treat others as you would like for them to treat you. And this book talks about how that looks in different religions, but it's said differently, but it's a way to really connect with our students. And so I say that to say this. As an educator and as parents, and we educate parents all the time about how they can really touch the lives of their students, we can help partner with them to touch the lives of their students. Parents are the first teachers. I recognize that. We recognize that. We honor that. And we bring our parents into our school. We work with them collaboratively. We honor the child. We honor the family. And we present ourselves in a way where we are showing love and kindness every day. The mission of our school, if you listen to the mission, listen to the words. The mission of the Carolina School for Inquiry is to teach a diverse population of children in an atmosphere of kindness that promotes respect and care for each other. And so those are the things that we're promoting. When we created the school, those things were important, that we would really live by those things as we're working with children. And I can tell you, leadership matters, because as a leader of a school, of Carolina School for Inquiry, because of my faith, because of my beliefs, because of my values, because of the humble beginnings that I was granted and given. I was raised by wonderful parents, as you can see, but even my maternal and my maternal grandparents, the late Henry McDaniels, he was 99 years old when he passed away. And I was at a conference in Myrtle Beach when my husband called me. He's like, "Are you coming home soon?" I said, "Yeah." Well, he was rushing me to come home. By the time I got there, he had told me what happened. But my grandfather was the one, when we were little, my parents were working, we stayed a lot with my grandfather and my grandmother. And he would always get the Sunday paper, well, not get the paper, get the daily paper. The newspaper would come, and they would throw it on the steps every morning. And so he would get it, and he would read, or pretend to be reading that paper. And then he would say, "I want you guys to read it, and I want you to read it out loud, because I'm going to ask you some questions about that." So we would read it, my brothers and I. "Oh, you're not reading, you're kind of choking up, you're not reading fluently." He would say, "You got to take your time and read it really well." And so we would read it, and we would read it, and so we would talk about it. And it wasn't until I was older that I knew that my grandfather only had a first grade education. So what he was doing was modeling those behaviors, sharing those things, hearing the news, and we were really helping him, but we never knew that. And my grandfather, when I became a teacher, he is the one, I probably never wear pants, because he's like, "What kind of teacher, what kind of is going to wear pants to school?" I said, "I think I probably own a couple pants. I really don't." And so those things stuck with me. They stuck with me, and they resonated with me. My grandmother was a minister as well. My mother, my maternal grandmother, my paternal grandmother is still living, as my father said. She's 93 years old and recently had surgery. But those things really matter too, and they've made me who I am. Those humble beginnings, those stories. I could tell you stories, a whole bunch of stories. And so it is through my stories, it's through my experiences that I am able to minister to not just my students, but to my staff, minister to other people. I'm an advocate for education. I'm very passionate about that. I'm bipartisan when it comes to education. I met with the governor. I met with, I've gone to Washington, D.C., particularly for charter schools and things like that. And so it's really important that I'm an advocate for the children, of not just in South Carolina, but the children across the world. And that's really important to me. And I can advocate because of my beliefs, because of my Christian values, and because this is what the Lord has commissioned me to do. So I will leave you with 4 things that I think that really helps. And as we continue to see Christ in education and make sure that we are doing those kinds of things, is always be an advocate. I'm an advocate for children. I'm an advocate for public education. I'm an advocate for education, period, whether it's public, private. I always tell some of my colleagues, because my school is, like I said, we have students all over Richland School District 1, and so it's not just the students that live in that area. And I said, my program is going to be top notch. I'm very competitive as well. So I usually go to different schools and kind of see what they're doing. And so I advocate, and I said, if we're offering programs, whether it's for the private school, the public school, parochial schools, whatever it is, the children win. If parents are having those types of options, those are the things that the children win. So I'm an advocate for education. I'm an advocate, and I do that advocacy through who I am. I listen intently to my students and my staff and to the things that are going on around the world. I love hard, I've said that. And building relationships, that's really, really important. So again, I'm just excited to have been invited to be here today to share my love and my passion for education and who I am as a Christian leader in education. Really, really important to me, and those are some of the things that I value. Again, I just want to thank Pastor Redfern and the CityLight family and all of you for just taking the time to indulge me for a few minutes to listen and for me to share my passions with you today. Again, I thank my family for being here, and please come out and visit share your love. I'm always having visitors come out and share with the students at the school, and we want to go out in the community. If there's anything that I can do to assist any of you, I'm here to do that. Thank you so much.
I was reminded of something a couple of days ago. In 1996, this month, Tony Evans made his first appearance in Columbia, South Carolina. And we had a prayer breakfast that morning on the 10th floor of 1233 Washington Street. And the gist of that meeting was to bring Tony Evans in here for a 3-day evangelistic crusade. And Tony started that morning off with a nursery rhyme. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, and Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. But all the king's horses and all the king's men could not put Humpty Dumpty back together again. And he said, we don't know what kind of fall he had, whether it was a physical fall, an emotional fall, a spiritual fall, we don't know. But what we do know is that the government got involved in it, and they couldn't fix the problem. It says all the king's horses and all the king's men. And that's where we are. We continue to look to a government to fix our problem that they're responsible for. They're not going to fix our problem. When I look at the educational system in South Carolina, and I look at where we are, poverty is probably the biggest obstacle that we have to overcome in South Carolina, other than the spiritual problem. And in order to solve the poverty problem, we're at least a generation away from solving it. The solution is right now entering kindergarten. But if we keep doing what we've always done, we're going to keep getting what we always got. And these charter schools are being put in place, and thank you for doing that, because what they're really trying to do is bypass the government regulation on what is required of them and what they can and can't do. They still have to hold the educational standards, but they don't have to do it the way the government wants it done. The government is not going to solve our problem. They created it. It's people like this that are going to solve the problem. But if the church does not get back involved in the schools, we're going to lose a whole other generation. Like I say, the solution to the poverty problem just entered kindergarten. The problem is these kids go home to an unstructured family life, which is where the church has to get involved. Because they go home, there's no food in the house, there's no structure in the house. These kids are entering back into the school the next morning unprepared because they're hungry, they haven't done their homework, they don't have a clue what's going on. So we're looking at teachers, much like we're looking to the church to raise our kids. That can't happen. The church has got to get back involved in the schools. So thank you so very much for what you're doing. Let's pray for her as she represents the whole school system in South Carolina. Lord, I thank you for people like Victoria that have stood up, that have heard the call, that have said, enough is enough. You raised her to make a difference as you've raised us to make a difference. The command was go make disciples. And she's doing that through the educational system and her love for these kids, but more importantly, her heart for you. So I pray that you would always make her path straight and smooth, and that she would see clearly what you're doing in each and every child's life. The people that she brings on board in this school, the teachers that she brings on, that they would have hearts after your own heart. But I pray that the church would come alongside of her at the same time and reach out to these families to help them to understand that we must be good parents in the house in order for our kids to be successful. And that success, Lord, is not measured in our bank account. It's measured in how many people are we going to lead to Christ in our lifetime. So as we walk forward from here today, Lord, give her strength, give her courage, give her wisdom, give her insight, but Lord, give her influence. The Lord be blessed, honored, and glorified through what she's doing and the countless others that are walking into classrooms right now. And it's in Jesus' name that we pray these things. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.